So we've got the deck of many things.
We do.
You were a big part of this. There's a lot of art.
There's a lot of art.
Let's talk about that. Why are you excited for the deck of many things?
So I'm a big fan of a ton of Easter eggs in any product, and this one has a great many. Because I got to commission both the art for the cards and the art for the book, there's a lot of things that overlap and talk to each other. And I'm really excited about those because I know what they are and not everybody does. And that makes me feel special.
So quite a few Easter eggs. There are different themes that people may not immediately pick up on. There's different artists that were attached to different cards. Can you just tell me about all of this? All the art direction?
Sure, all of the art direction.
All of it.
All of it right now. I can do
right
that.
now.
I will try my very best and I will probably forget something, but here we go. So I initially started with the cards themselves before I started on commissioning the art for the book. And I wanted the cards to each have their own individual feeling and sort of narrative that was buried within the card. The idea that you could pick up a card and create a story just from what you see on that piece meant that I wanted to explore beyond the normal sort of traditional fantasy illustration. And that meant I got to work with people like Abigail Larson and Tanel Lovett and Valex Gax, who did my favorite set of the Celestial cards. And we put a whole lot of narrative and amazing things into those cards. And then from there, after we designed all of the graphic design elements for the cards, we shifted over to commissioning for the book. And we got to incorporate not only those cards into the book, but the graphic design of those things. You see the backs of cards or the fronts of cards that have the actual art of the cards like in another illustration, and that sort of inception is like, it blows my mind every time I see it, and I love it. There's so much art direction. I don't know, like, I'm a whimsical creature of chaos, and this is like my gym jam.
That's on the book. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's accurate.
Perfect. What was your role in creating these new cards?
Yeah, so my role was I was the graphic designer assigned to the project. I saw this coming along almost a year before the project began, and I personally have made 2 tarot decks of my own. So when I went into it, I had a lot of concepts for the back of the card. I started with the balance card. The artwork for that was kind of the thing that kicked me off to start iterating. So I'm kind of attached to the balance card for that reason. But I explored a lot of different varieties of designs for the back of the card. And the thing that was the starting point for all the designs that sprang out of that, like the card case and the card reference guidebook cover and the sleeve that the card case goes into. So,
do you have some favorites? I know it's kind of hard to choose amongst everything.
Favorites of the cards or favorites of the art pieces altogether?
All of it.
You ask big questions.
Okay, favorite cards.
Favorite card.
Both for the art and also what they do.
So I will tell you my favorite set of cards is the sort of Celestial Bodies set by Valex Gax. And it's the comet, the sun, the star, and the moon card. And the way the art happened, my very loose description was have a seasonal sort of effect. As each card moves through time, it's the same space, but the town changes, the scenery changes, and then the astral part of it changes. And it just, I don't know, it turned out really cool. Like cooler than I could have imagined. That's always the best part when an artist is like, yes, I took your idea and I made a better one here. And I'm like, yes, thank you, I appreciate that. And that's one of those moments. But those cards are then tied in to lots of other little cards and sneak peeks in the book too. I also really enjoy Tanel Lovett's Fates card. Kind of put it everywhere because it's the 3 sisters of fate, and her interpretation of that was just stunning. And it suits the deck and the product really, really well, and that's why we put it on the cover of the book.
What was important for you to capture while you were doing this? Because you did mention the fact that this is such a very storied and famous magical item in D&D, perhaps one of the biggest ones. And it's had the biggest impact on so many players and live stream shows. Like we've literally seen the end of famous campaigns, and then someone gets the void card and they just disappear.
Deuces.
Were you scared?
Oh, it is.
You're literally recreating a magical item from D&D.
Yes,
In
thank
real
you.
life.
Yeah.
Are you scared now?
No. Well, I'm always a little bit scared that people won't understand how much these things mean to the people who make them, right? Like that I forgot something, or that it didn't mean as much to me as it did. But it's a very weighty thing, and I was very intimidated that I'd get it wrong. But I think we did a lot of things really right with this. I think it's amazing to hold. It's sparkly, and that's never wrong.
Are there other cards that like really stood out where you're like, that's because you're like sending these people out almost like bounty hunters to capture a moment, and that's kind of like what an art director is. But you are trying, like you said, these are vignettes. These are like a moment. So, all right, what's beast to you? Like that's a very specific kind of Mission Impossible thing to do. To
It
someone.
is a little bit. I get to selfishly put a little bit of a spin on it, right? I get to choose. So for the 18 monsters we got to create, like Jason and I sat down and we chose which ones that were either iconic to D&D, ones that fans loved, or ones that we had like personal feelings about. We're like, yes, we're going to commission this. But the Almirage kind of floored everybody. James was expecting like a big Rari beast, and I was like, here's this bunny. And he's like, I have to write differently for that. And I was like, thank you. The undead piece, the tower, the ring, and the talons card, those are all connected as well, much like the celestial bodies set. So you get this undead Lady Lich and her tower and her ring, and the ring being destroyed in the talons moment. And you see the hand of the Lady Lich. But I like those moments.
I really like that you mentioned like there's a story being told in the art, and like this one card's leading to the next card. It's very elegant. They're also like really gorgeous cards. They're very it's hard to capture on video
how blingy they are.
Yeah, they're very blingy. Blingy is a good
Yeah, that's this motion is me turning the cards to catch the light without cards. That's cool. I do that.
That's perfect.
So Bob Jordan, the graphic designer, designed a treatment for each card that is indicative of the art. And so he spent special time creating that blinginess that would enhance the art. And I think he did a really good job. Looks really cool.
To have to do 66 unique foil stamp treatments on every card, that was challenging. So I kept thinking, how can I make a foil stamp? So if you look at every card on the face, you'll see that there's a little detail of foil that's unique to that card. So I had to figure out a way to make something that was very unique for every card, but then when you looked at it, it didn't infringe on the card or, I don't want to say dominate, but influence it too much. So when you look at it, it's very quiet, but when you tilt it, you can see the detail. So it took me a while the whole time I was producing this and building it, I was keeping in the back of my head, how am I going to do this? What's going to be the best way to implement this foil treatment? So that was something very challenging to think about.
We've got books. We've got an alt cover.
We do.
We've got the regular cover. Tell me about like the different art styles there.
So the regular cover is a little bit of a piled on narrative. So you have Asteria reaching up into the stars and sort of pulling down cards. But in it, you see all of the sorts of things that could happen from that action. And then you have on the back cover, Uriel sort of looking on into the horizon, which is very beautiful. But you have like the Kenku from the Rogue card that's in there, and it's styled in a similar way that we did with the cards. You have these avatars of death, or the Grim Harrow, which ride with the avatar of death to come after the deck havers.
Those are my folks.
It's pretty Jim Jammy.
Yeah.
I
want to ride with them.
I loved the concept for that came from the Avatar of Death. So I worked with Claudio Posas on the concept work for that. And his concept for the Avatar of Death is sort of like this embodiment of like not only cosmos, which felt really right for the product, but sort of this nighttime shade that translated to the Grim Harrow with this undulating sort of cosmos halo was just a really good idea. And I'm very, very glad that I got to work with him on that, because I don't know that I would have come up with that on my own. It's pretty cool.
What's something about your job that most people don't know? Because there's a complexity here that maybe a lot of people don't ever think about when they get like a product like this.
The graphic designer's job is to basically hold and support the beautiful artwork and the story and everything. So a way to integrate your design into that ecosystem where it seamlessly welds with it. But a lot of graphic designs aren't quite like this job, and that's why I love being here, is because I'm able to actually, I do it in graphic software, but basically illustrate the back of the card or the card case that it comes in. And it's not leaning on key art, it's actually relying on the graphic designer to create that look, and that's really wonderful. But I always have to tell people I don't do the artwork itself on the cards, right? So anything with the character or imagery is done by the artist, of course. But
how did this idea come about even?
The deck of many things.
That had been kind of interesting when they're like, hey, we're doing this thing.
Yeah, it started out as sort of that toy box of anything to help out the DM, and with the idea that the deck of many things would help branch you off into these different areas. But then once we got into the sort of character development of things and we needed a focal character, I fell in love with Asteria. I have autism and I have like a lot of neurospicy deliciousness, and getting to be a part of making that bit of history was really, really cool, and I'm a little emotional about it. But I also got to help develop what she looked like, and so I wanted her to be strong, and I wanted her to be this kind of like small, I think this is also personally driven, but like a titan of a human being. And she's just beautiful and strong and everything I want to be. Really, truly. Well adjusted. I'm still working on that one.
That's fantastic. What is some of the process? Do you like have to worry about like the printing process, that kind of thing?
Oh, sure.
Reviews, all that?
Yeah, so because of how ingrained the cards were into the illustrations for the book, we had to do a lot of that work before we were able to even get into thinking of what the illustrations are going to look like for the book. And I worked really closely to integrate and weave those things in where we could. So we did all of the graphic design for the deck of many things before we got to even touching the book. One thing I'm very proud of is I got to actually do the title treatment for the alt cover of the book. So that is me drawing in those letter forms, and it's also on the outer cover of the box itself that you get it in. So
It's very
I
cool.
thought that was. We don't often, as art directors, get to roll up the sleeves, as it were, and put our pen to paper. But
Is it weird to get a physical product back? Like that always seems to me like, okay,
Oh, yeah.
you see the digital version of the art and all of this, but then you're getting the deck, it's in your hands. This thing that you've been working on for this long is suddenly real. That has to be somewhat emotional.
it is incredibly emotional. Actually, when I unboxed it, I cried a little bit. Tristan was right next to me, and I was like, ugh. And he was recording, and and I stumbled a little bit, and I was like, don't look at me. But it turns out so much better than how you imagine it. And you don't remember all of the things that went sideways. You just see it in front of you, and you're like, it's real. It's not a figment of my imagination anymore. It's out in the world.
What excites you the most about people getting their hands on this?
I think it's just a really super unique product. I mean, I'm just excited to share it with my friends and my family, and I have nephews who are DMs. I just want to get together with them, give it to them, and see how they use it. You know.
What do you enjoy about working with the art team?
I love working with this team. It's actually my favorite collection of people since I've been here. Even though I've had very wonderful experiences throughout and very positive experiences. But this team in particular, I've known a lot of them a long time, and that's why I pursued coming over when there was an opening. But working with the art team, it's just everybody has their own unique skill set, but everybody shares the same skills. But I learned so much from them, and it's just a really deep set of knowledge and skill and excitement. Everybody's so passionate about it. Everybody's so into it and supportive. It's just the best.
Art has always been so important to D&D.
Right.
To like how we relate to D&D and experience it. Like whether we're looking at monsters or you're showing a moment. Like the art of D&D is just like such a magical thing throughout every edition.
Well, that's my job, right? Is to inspire that story in whoever picks it up. They have to be able to, yes, I could show you just a flat picture of an animal and have you guess, but if I give you context, if I give you little nuggets that you can read into and make your own story out of, like, then I've done my job well. And I think I did. I think I did my job okay.